What's up, Bears fans? Harrison Graham here, back with another episode of Chicago Bears Now. Thanks for everybody watching all of our content as the offseason is in full force. Plenty to discuss. We have an update on Ian Cunningham. Al Harris, a source, reached out to me. An update there. Plus, a coach just got let go, and I'm wondering if Ben Johnson would be interested in hiring him. So we're going to dive into that as well. Thanks again for all the feedback on the at-home content. Just because we're not in the office doesn't mean we're not going to bring you guys videos. So we appreciate it. If you appreciate what we're doing, hit that subscribe button. Daily off-season videos. Okay, let's get to the Ian Cunningham situation. So the Falcons are down to two finalists, it sounds like. Ian Cunningham and then James Leap something. Let me try to find his name. The Texans assistant GM is the other finalist. His name is James Liepfert, Liipfert. So those are the two finalists. They are both going to interview in person. And then it sounds like by the end of the week, Atlanta will lock in a general manager. Now, this will technically be the third interview that Cunningham has done with the Falcons, because he interviewed for the president of football position, which went to Matt Ryan, which was largely expected at the time. He's done a virtual interview for the GM position, and now he is going to interview in person to be the general manager. We've talked about the connections between Cunningham and the Falcons for a while. Matt Ryan, who is now the president of football, is very close with Ryan Poles. They were teammates at Boston College. I think they were roommates for maybe a year, and they have stayed in touch over the years. Matt Ryan has been to Hallis Hall, I think, multiple times since Ryan Poles has been the GM, and Ryan Poles' right-hand man is Ian Cunningham. So that would be a strong endorsement for Matt Ryan to bring him in. Now, he doesn't have the job as of now. He's one of two finalists, but if he gets the job, the question then becomes, will the Bears get the compensatory draft picks or not? Because that has been the sticking point in kind of the debate for the last couple of weeks. Jonathan Jones, CBS Sports, on January 10th, I went back to find the article, wrote up a whole piece about this and said, on paper, the Falcons GM job is, quote, a secondary football executive position. So even though it would be an increase in title, in all likelihood an increase in role, because I think Arthur Blank came out and said Matt Ryan's job is not to be the GM. We're going to hire a GM for that. Technically, that may not be considered a forward move for Cunningham in terms of a technicality situation with the NFL's definition. Now, I find that ridiculous. If he is the GM by title and has heavy roster control, that is absolutely an upward move. So if the Bears get screwed on this and don't get the draft pick compensation, that's a joke. I think that would be absolutely absurd if that ended up being the case. But I think what's even more absurd is that this story dropped a couple of weeks ago from Jonathan Jones, almost 3 weeks ago now, and there's been no clarity since. No one has reported on it clearly. The NFL has not released a statement officially on this, so I really don't know if the Bears will get the comp picks or not. It's a huge situation, because if the Bears do, they get an extra third-round pick this year and next year for a minority candidate landing a general manager job. So I think the NFL would take some flack by kind of ruling against the Bears in this technicality. Like, to me, the Falcons coming out and saying the GM would have roster control, like that should end the conversation. That should make it clear that it is an upward move. Now we could say, well, why don't the Bears just drop it? Well, Cunningham and Poles are tight. He's not going to prevent his buddy from being a general manager. He has said for years that he deserves to be a GM. So, I understand where people are coming from. I had that initial thought as well, but I just don't think it's kind of like Ben Johnson. He's not going to block Declan Doyle from interviews, at least outside of the division, if it's for a play calling OC job. So, we'll see what happens here. I'm hoping the Bears would get the draft pick compensation, because they absolutely would deserve that. But that is unclear at this point in time. So we'll continue to monitor this situation, but sounds like he has at least a 50-50 chance. Unless someone else enters the mix, there's 2 finalists, and he's one of them. So hopefully he gets it, and hopefully the Bears get compensated for it, because that's the whole point of them putting that rule in place. Okay, today's show is sponsored by PrizePicks. Daily fantasy made easy at prizepicks.com/CLNS. The big game, guys, it is almost here, and there's no better way to cash in during America's biggest sporting event than with on PrizePicks, where it's always good to be right. And since that big game is around the corner, this is your last chance to get in on the football action before next season. I can't believe it. We got 1 game left. So close the season out right with PrizePicks by getting $50 instantly in lineups when you play your first $5. How you play PrizePicks is totally up to you. If you want flexibility, choose the Flex Play option, as it'll allow you to miss up to 1 time in your PrizePicks lineup and still cash out. Or if you want the bigger payout, go for the Power Play. However you play, get started with PrizePicks. You take more or less on stat projections, and if you hit, you win money. Pick 2 or more players in your PrizePicks lineup, up to 6 players. Take more or less on their stat projections, and you are good to go. So download the PrizePicks app, create an account, use our code CLNS to get $50 in lineups once you play your first $5 lineup. That is code CLNS to get $50 in lineups once you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, it is good to be right. Okay, latest on Al Harris. So there's not a lot of new public reporting. I was told by a source that it is unlikely that the Steelers are going to hire Al Harris. I did see a Steelers account throw out a couple names earlier today, and Al Harris was not one of them. So there is the connection there with Mike McCarthy. McCarthy coached him in Green Bay. Harris coached under him in Dallas. But as of now, it sounds like he will not be getting that job. And so if he doesn't, are there other gigs that Al Harris could get to be a defensive coordinator in 2026? Well, the Packers already filled up with Jonathan Gannon. The Commanders filled up with Durante Jones, the number 2 under Brian Flores in Minnesota. The Titans interviewed him, but that's a non-play calling DC gig. Like, if it's that or stay with the Bears, if I'm the Bears, I would just match salary and keep Al Harris. Like, if I'm Al Harris, I would probably just stay if I can keep the salary, because if Robert Saleh is going to call plays, yeah, if they double my salary, I would have to consider that if I'm Al Harris. But if the Bears are willing to match, then I would just stay in Chicago if I was Al Harris. So we'll see if other opportunities open up. Obviously, there's, like Joe Brady just got hired with the Bills. Would he be interested in Al Harris? I don't know. There's still 3 head coaching opportunities. Would they be interested in hiring Al Harris as a DC? There should be a couple other DC gigs still opened up. So I don't think like this is set in stone that Al Harris is going to be back in Chicago, but Pittsburgh felt like the big kind of bullet to dodge here from a Bears standpoint in terms of who could potentially hire Al Harris, that along with Green Bay, who ended up going with Jonathan Gannon. So I would say the Bears are in pretty decent position. Now, I'm rooting for Al Harris. I'd like to see him get an opportunity. For 5 years now, the defenses he has coached has led the NFL in interceptions and has been at or near the top of the league in takeaways. I think he's earned an opportunity, but as of now, he has not gotten one. So we will see where that goes. I'm sure there could still be some other interest. I wouldn't say the Steelers have zero interest in Al Harris, but I was told it's unlikely that they will hire him. Okay, I wanted to talk about this for a second. So Tanner Engstrand, the Jets offensive coordinator, Aaron Glenn brought him over with him to New York from Detroit. He was the pass game coordinator with the Lions under Ben Johnson in 2023 and 2024, took the Jets OC job, and more than 3 weeks after their season ended, they are now firing Engstrand. It sounds like they're going to hire Frank Reich to be their OC. But this is not a Jet show. I don't care what the Jets do. They stink. I do think Tanner Engstrand's a decent coach, though. Obviously, it didn't work out in New York, but how much did they have to work with? They were starting Brady Cook by the end of the year. We all know Justin Fields' limitations. Tyrod Taylor. Garrett Wilson's their only big-time weapon. He missed like half the season. Breece Hall actually had a great year. They actually ran the ball really well in New York. I do wonder, would Ben Johnson bring on Tanner Engstrand in some role? Now, that would probably only be possible if Declan Doyle landed a job elsewhere, which we don't want, obviously, but the Ravens are interested in Doyle. We'll see if he gets that job and or wants that job. But Engstrand was a Detroit assistant from 2020 to 2024 and was the pass game coordinator in 23 and 24, so working directly under and with Ben Johnson on Dan Campbell's staff. So the connection is there. If the OC gig opens up, would Ben consider him in a non-play calling role? Or could JT Barrett get promoted, then Tanner Engstrand becomes your quarterback's coach? Or Press Taylor gets promoted and Tanner Engstrand becomes your pass game coordinator? There's a lot of dominoes that would fall if Declan Doyle were to leave, or the Bears could simply make him like a senior offensive analyst or something like that, make that offer at least. You would think he'd have better options out there. Dan Campbell could be interested in bringing him back as well. Now, they have hired Drew Petzing as OC and Mike Kafka to a senior offensive role, so I don't know if they have any openings left. But the point is that Engstrand has risen up the ranks in this league, and just because it didn't work out with the Jets, if you could bring him in, a guy Ben is familiar with and you would think trust. I think he's spoken highly of him publicly before. In a non-play calling role, I'd be interested in that. So we'll see if that's a possibility in the coming days if the Bears show any interest there. And obviously if they do, we of course will have it covered here on Chicago Bears Now. All right, stay tuned. I'm going to try to go live from my house here in a little bit. Just kind of live Q&A hangout. We'll chop it up, talk about some of these storylines live on the show. I'm actually publishing this show after that live show, so I don't even know why I'm saying this now. Point is, subscribe if you want to go check out that live chat. If we ended up going live, go check it out. Might do more of those if they go well. How about this? If you joined us for the live chat and you're watching this video now, should we do more of those style live shows? Let us know in the comment section below. Okay, hit that subscribe button. We're getting out of here. Appreciate everybody for tuning in. Should be back in studio tomorrow. Bear down.